So welcome back, and thank you for being here. We have another fabulous speaker, an amazing entrepreneur, Adam Paul. Will be up here in just a few minutes to tell his amazing story. Before we do that, what we like to do each week is ask 3 volunteers to come up on the stage, brave volunteers, and tell us one thing you really learned and liked about Sharon Smith's lecture last week, okay? And we have a gift for you. We have this book, Main Street Entrepreneur. It talks about how to build a small business from successful entrepreneurs. So who wants to come up? Okay, let's have this gentleman right here. And let's have you right here. And we need to have one female. How come you're not raising your hands? Okay, you're up. Come on up. One thing you learned from Shauna Smith that maybe will help you in your life and your career. So introduce yourself and tell us what you learned.
Hi, my name is Russell Bundy, and I loved Shauna's message last week. I think what I got most out of it is you just have to act. She didn't even know, the essentials behind business when she started her kneaders company, but she just started because she had an idea and she had people that were interested, and it worked out for her. And so that was something I really got from it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. My name is John. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Something I learned last time was it was all about teamwork. She was so centered on having a strong team and making sure that the communities was, based on principles, on beliefs. I really loved and admired that about her.
All right, my name is Kahlo. Last week, one thing I learned is really just defining your why. She repeatedly said that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And so just being able to have your why as your backup and your main motivator to keep you going is such an important thing to have, not just in entrepreneurship, but in all. I think entrepreneurship is one of the more daunting tasks of business, but I think just being able to have your why as your backup and your main motivator is something I really got out of her message.
Give him a hand. Okay. So each week we'll do that. If you have something you want to share, be willing. And if you really want to do it bad, email me first and I'll put you on the list, okay? So 3 people to come up, share something they learned. So when we introduce this class each year to the students, we say, this is the best 1 credit hour class you'll ever take in your life. So after 1 speaker, how are we doing? Like it? Okay. Did you like Shauna Smith? Pretty amazing story, I thought. So we have another one of those tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to our TA for the class, Jaden, and he will introduce Adam.
Adam Paul, the founder and CEO of Next Meters. Adam's entrepreneurial journey is a remarkable story of curiosity and self-taught expertise. With 0 formal training in electronics or software, he started building meter prototypes in his garage and has now grown the company into what it is today. Now Next Meters is recognized on the Inc. 5000 list as a dominant leader in U.S. multifamily housing market, helping conserve billions of gallons of water through innovative smart metering. A recipient of both the EY Entrepreneur of the Year and Utah Business CEO of the Year awards, Adam is a powerful example of how determination can turn something small into something incredible. Please welcome Adam Paul.
All right, excited to be here. Got to have my notebook with me. I wrote down a few notes beforehand. Grateful for the opportunity to be here. Excited to be able to share this with you guys. Got to do dinner just a little bit ago with a few very talented people, and it was really fun to get to know each of you a little bit. And I'm hoping that we can have a lot of questions at the end of this. So I'll try not to go too long because I would like to hear questions that you guys have that I may or may not be able to answer. If I'm not able to answer them, I'll write them down and get back to you. But starting out, I'm Adam. I'm the CEO and president of Next Meters, a company that I founded quite a few years ago, 2013. Started it. Title up here is one of my favorite quotes. Everyone's making it up, and that's okay. And that's probably going to be kind of the theme behind what I talk about today, because it's a lot of what has led to where I am today. I'm going to use an example for this. So do we have any parents here? Raise of hands. Any parents? Okay. So what do I mean by everyone's making it up and that's okay? When you were growing up, your parents, they knew what they were doing, right? Like they went to parent school. They knew what they needed to tell you. They knew how to act when you guys acted out of line. Like your parents, they knew what they were doing. I'm now a parent, and I've now realized my parents did not know what they were doing. They did not go to parent school because I have no idea what I'm doing, right? And that really is the theme throughout. I would expect or suspect that your professors and your teachers quite often do feel like they're making it up as they go, right? They don't have a secret recipe or a secret book on how to do it. They're learning and they're creating as they go. For me, it's such a great and powerful thought to know that it's not just me. All of us are. We're all making it up as we go. And that's great, right? If everything was already solved, how boring would this world be? Right? It's great that we're making it up. It's great that we don't know everything yet. One of my favorite passages, not to go too religious, it's actually, I think someone said it was actually not in the Bible when I quoted it last time, but it's, this too shall pass. One of my favorite things to remember. As an entrepreneur, going into business, going into whatever field you're going into, you're going to come up on times when you're going to think, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make it work. I don't know, what the next step is. And it's helpful to know, this too shall pass. On the other side, there's going to be some times when you're thinking, holy cow, I know what I'm doing. I've got this. I've got it down. Nothing can get in my way. I'm flying high. Well, guess what? This too shall pass. You're going to run into another obstacle. And that's important to remember. You're going to keep running into obstacles. If you do want to be an entrepreneur, if you do want to make impacts, you're going to continue to run into obstacles. And that's an important part of it. So for me, that everyone's making it up and that's okay is such a good indicator or such a good reason to just start. Right? You don't need to wait to finish the next class. You don't need to wait to finish the next certification. You don't need to wait until your family is in a stable place. Right? You can start right now. You don't need to wait till tomorrow. You can start on what you're doing now. It sometimes feels a little bit unfair for me to come up here and talk about Next Meters and talk about its success and to do that alone because it's not something that happened alone. We have an amazing team that's really pushed this. Entrepreneurship is not a solo sport. It is a team sport. You need a team. You need to work with people. You need to work with others. And this team is truly who's made this possible. And this does not show everybody who have helped and who have made such a huge difference on my entrepreneurial journey. If we were to show everybody who did have an impact on that, I would suspect that this picture might go around this entire room. All right, so it's important to remember that. You're going to get to talk to a lot of very qualified people, but all of them have teams behind them, and you don't always see that. And so I want to make sure that that's very clear, that the team is truly what's made it possible. So Next Meters is a company. We have about 4.5 million wireless devices throughout the U.S. and Canada. Since I started saying that number, about 100,000 of those devices just checked into our system. We get a lot of data that runs in through our system every single day. 80 plus team members. We've acquired 3 different companies, founded the company in 2013. This year, we did $55.4 million in revenue, $11 million in EBITDA. We have 10 different contract manufacturers that we work with throughout the world, over 200 manufacturing team members that are dedicated to working with us on our products and what we do. So we've been able to experience a lot of success, and it's fun to come up here and say, hey, it's been fun, it's been successful, but I do have to be honest and tell the truth. I didn't have some grand plan. I didn't have a scheme when I put this together. I did not know that it was going to turn into what it turned into today. I was really trying to survive. I was trying to make a difference, and I saw an opportunity to solve a problem. And that's probably been one of the largest things that I've learned on my journey. That's what I'm going to kind of share is the story of what I did. If I don't get it across during this conversation, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I think we got to talk about that last time. And I think those are critical. So, we got the phone call. We got to come up here because of the success that we've been able to experience. But I want to make sure that I continue to emphasize the amount of obstacles that we ran up against, the amount of times we thought, how are we going to make the next step? How are we going to do the next move? Because it's important to know that those are going to happen so that when they do happen, you don't feel like there's no way to solve it, because there always is. There's always a way to get past it and to solve it. So our story at Next. So I started Next. I'm founder at Next. And in 2013, I'd been living in Cache Valley. There we go. Been living in Cache Valley, was working at a company, had a manager position there, was really excited, felt like I was progressing really quickly and really well in my career, had just built a house out in Hiram, was excited about that. Went into work one day and got called into a room, and they terminated me, fired, let go. I had no idea it was coming, not a clue. They escorted me off the premise and said, don't come back. That was heartbreaking. It was really hard. I went home and thought, I actually don't know if I can do anything else. Like, I don't know if I could be good at anything else. That's what I had put my everything into, right? I liked being at the company. I liked what I was doing. I threw myself into it completely, felt like I was doing good, in my career, and just felt lost. Knew that I had to try to make ends meet, so I went and got the very first job that I could. So I was unemployed for a total of 30 hours before I found another job. Went and got one of the lowest level IT tech jobs at a company here in the Valley, conserve. My job was to plug in computers and replace mice and headsets when people need them replaced. conserve is a great company, loved it. That job wasn't personally for me because it was the same thing every single day, but was doing it. I was in a really hard place. I had a house mortgage payment that was about $1,000 a month, and I was making about $1,200 a month. So I had about $200 a month to try to pay for everything else. So I was working hard at that company, subsidizing through selling things. So my house continued to become emptier and emptier and emptier as we sold beds and couches and tables. But if it didn't need to be in the house, we sold it. It was gone. In fact, by the end, the house had a mattress in the living room, and I did keep one TV. It had one TV on the wall. Everything else was gone. You would have thought nobody had lived in that house if you would have gone and seen it. Well, during this time, I ended up being in the right spot or the right place at the right time. Was helping fix the CEO of that company's computer, and overheard them talk about this need. They talked about submeters, which I had not heard that word before. Talked about submeters and the fact that they hated all of them that were out there. They were all terrible. They were expensive. They broke down a lot. There was no support. You couldn't get them even when you did want them. And then they mentioned, it's how many of them they buy a year. And thought to myself, I could probably figure that out. I think I could figure that out. So I went home to my garage, and I think there's some pictures here as we go. Oh yeah, I went home to my garage and started designing things. And my whole goal here was to prove that I could start this company, that I could do this. So I went home, taught myself a little bit of circuit board design, was able to design a circuit board, taught myself some software, and was able to design a website and create a working prototype. I wanted to go back, and the CEO didn't know I was working on this or doing it, so I was just doing it at night. But I wanted to go back and say, hey, look, see, I can get something that works together. Now let's move it to the next place. And so that's where I spend a lot of time and effort. And it's a fun story and it's a cool story. But what I want to share with you guys, and I don't know how many times I've shared this actually with others, is that wasn't the first time I did that. So there was multiple other times, including at the company that fired me, that I did the same thing. At the company where I was fired, I saw a need and went and did the same thing. I went home, taught myself some CAD design for doing 3D design. Now I know how critical it was learning that for later in my journey. Back then, it was for this opportunity. Put together this pitch for them, and just saying, hey, like, I figured it out. This is what you need. This is what will solve your problem. Went and pitched it to the president of that company. And then a couple of weeks later, I got fired. So this was actually not the first time. I did it multiple different times of trying to figure out a way to solve a problem. And I think that is one of the things that really helped me is the fact that I did it multiple times. I think so often through other people's stories, you think you just got to be in the right place at the right time for that one time. And the people who do it and the people who get it done are the people that have that one chance to do it. Well, in all reality, you've got to put yourself out there over and over again, and then you'll find that opportunity. It'll happen. And that's how it happened for me. So I went and pitched it to the CEO of the company that I worked for before, and he said, yeah, let's do this. So extended a line of credit. So every dollar I was borrowing, I knew I was going to have to pay back at some point. So we were very careful on the money we had to spend. Actually backing up just a little bit. We still got a few minutes. Backing up just a little bit, doing this original prototype, I had to fund it. I was doing it all by myself. I had that $200 to play with for the month, which had to cover food and power and utilities and car payment, gas payments and car payments, all that fun stuff. So I taught myself how to do quite a few things. In fact, I think I'll skip back. Here we go. In this one, I learned some circuit board design. I couldn't afford to have a company spin up a circuit board for me, so I learned how to make circuit boards at home by yourself using acid and an iron and sketching things away. I got someone to let me use a laser jet printer because it prints plastic, and figured out with an iron you could melt the plastic from the printer onto the circuit board or onto the copper. You could then wash away the paper with water, and then you could go etch it with acid, and it would just leave the copper or the traces on there. And then I went and drilled by hand every single hole on that circuit board and got a little soldering iron, learned how to solder and soldered it together. Because again, I wanted to go in showing that, although I didn't know how to do it, I could learn how to do it. And I wanted the investor to know, hey, I can do this. I can figure out how to do it. What's funny is I was learning electronics, learning website design, learning a little bit of that because I thought that would be important for me to at least have a basis in that knowledge. My plan was not to be an engineer. I did not plan on learning deep firmware design. I did not plan on learning deep circuit board design, mechanical design. That was not my plan. My plan was to be like a project manager, right? To run the company and make sure people could do it. So we went and pitched. Previous to pitching, I had to make a fun decision. We didn't have much money, $200. And so I had to make a decision one month of whether to pay the electric bill or the gas bill. So we decided to pay the gas bill, because then we could still heat the house, because it was cold at that time. And so I got my power cut off while I was trying to do all of this. And so this picture is kind of fun. It was a neighbor let me run an extension cord from his house. And I ran an extension cord from his house all the way over to mine up through my living room window. And that's me working on assembling a circuit board off an extension cord from the neighbor's house. So kind of scary. Had a great support system. There was a time during this that I actually did get a different job offer, and it was quite a good job offer. And I believed in this so much. I believed in the fact that I was like, yeah, I found that's the problem. That's a problem I can solve. I can figure out how to solve that. That I convinced others around me that it was okay for me not to take that better job because this was going to be a better opportunity. This is where we could go with it. This video is kind of fun. This is the first time I ever got a circuit board to work. I don't think the sound works, but it's just me celebrating and being like, I can program this thing. And it's funny looking back at it now and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so archaic. That is hilarious that I got it to say hello world. If there's any software majors out here, we know hello world. Got it to say hello world. And I was like, I'm basically done. I can do this. This is easy, right? And there's a lot more steps to go. Being a little bit naive is not a bad thing for being an entrepreneur, right? You just keep looking at just the next thing that you need to do. I'm trying to remember the order of the slides here a little bit. So went and pitched it to the investor. He said, okay, I'll extend a line of credit. Every dollar that we spent, we were going to have to pay back once we started making money. Went and started working on version 2. Now, part of the agreement was that I had to still keep working my normal job at my normal pay rate, and I could only use the funds that came in to design prototypes. I couldn't pay anyone else yet. I couldn't do anything else until I came up with a second prototype. And I had to go through them every time I wanted to spend any money and prove it. So there's times when I'd need to buy a resistor, and they'd say, okay, this resistor costs half a cent. What's a resistor? I'm like, okay, I need a resistor, I promise, guys, right? So every single cent I had to justify it, which was really great because it helped me understand, the importance of knowing where the money is going, where the dollars are going. Now, I say that to say that I was really good about the money. We'll jump to a story where I wasn't. So as we went, eventually, we got the approval to bring an engineering team in. So brought in an engineering team, and I thought, I was a little bit naive, like, you know what? These guys are engineers. They know what they're doing. They've got this. They're professionals. They went to engineering school. They're good. I'll just tell them some requirements and we'll be great. They did it, came back, said, hey, equipment's looking great. We own a manufacturing plant. We'll go ahead and start running these. I was like, oh my gosh, it's looking great. We are so far ahead of schedule. I am doing so good at this. This is not hard at all, right? It's great. And this too shall pass, and it did. So got the first equipment. We went and placed the order. I went and told the investors, it's time, we're ready. They put $250,000 into this for the first production run. We were ready to go. We got all of those back and started testing them and doing in-house testing. Now we make wireless devices. These devices hook up to any meter, gas, water, or electric, and turn it into a smart meter. And then those wirelessly check into our system. Now those need to wirelessly go really far, right? They have to be able to talk really, really far. And that was one of the requirements. We started testing these. And they went, well, our goal was for them to go about a quarter of a mile, right? We want them to go a quarter of a mile. They went about 4 feet. Right? That's about as far as they could talk. And when we went back to the other group, they said, you guys already paid us. And it was hard. I had to go back to investors. In fact, in the middle of this, we were at our first trade show. Our very first trade show was coming up. And a couple of days before this trade show, we realized and found out this equipment wasn't going to work. We couldn't use it. It was not going to work. Then we went to go to this trade show. We had, myself and the business partner that came in, one of my best friends, a software developer, that I talked into quitting his stable job and coming on board saying, oh, this is going to be a success, right? This is going to be great. We've got this. We designed this amazing booth to go to this trade show. This is where we're going to go show everybody and say, hey, look what we've got. We're going to change the industry. This is going to be amazing. We walk in, and at these trade shows, you send your booths over. You go over to where your booth is going to, be set up, and they have all your equipment, everything there, and then you go set it up because you shipped it there. We get there, and there's the pallet that had this beautiful booth that we had designed, and it looked like someone had taken everything on our pallet and just mangled it and squished it up. There wasn't a single usable thing on there, and the trade show was the next day. So we panicked, had our moment of, holy crap, are we going to be able to do this? And I said, well, we have to. We have to do this. So we started running someone to Home Depot and grabbing pieces. We designed all of this while we were there. We found a printing shop that stayed late and printed all of the banners for us again that night. As we were setting it up, they started saying, hey, it's the end of the night. All vendors have to leave. They started closing up the venue where this trade show is going to be. And I don't condone not following the rules, but myself and my business partner, we just kind of moseyed around and stayed out of sight from the security guards. And every time they'd come around the corner, we'd kind of head towards the door, and then when they turn around, we mosey off until they finally shut all the lights off in there. We're like, all right, we're here alone. So we went back to our booth, realized we didn't have tools anymore because the people who had the tools had left. So we're like, how are we going to put this thing together? Home Depot had a booth. So I do want to right now publicly thank Home Depot for, without knowledge, letting us use some of the drills and screwdrivers and things that they had in their booth, and we were able to put it together. And so we were very proud of it. It's funny that it's probably our most archaic booth that we've ever made, but we were so proud of it. There's so much work that went into it, and it was a lot of hands and people that came in and helped us put it together. So we had just realized that our current product was not going to work. The stuff that you see on here, it was not going to work. We came and did this, made the booth happen. That was great. Went into a board meeting where it was decided, we'll put that $250,000 back up, where it was decided, let's just cut our losses. Let's shut it down. No more. Like, obviously don't know what you guys are doing. Not going to be able to do it. Just lost us $250,000. Like, no more. And I was pretty devastated because for me, this had to work. It was going to work. There's no other option. So after the vote was taken that we were going to shut it down, I went back to the main investor that we worked with. Great guy. Talked to him and said, listen, I know I've lost trust. At this point, you spent a lot of money on me. I've learned a lot. Please let me prove that I have learned something from this. He said, well, what would it take? Now, at this point, I'd lost them a lot of money. It had been over a year of us working on this. So I said, $60,000, right? $60,000 and 6 months, and we will have a working product for you. Working product. And he said, how? I said, I have no idea, but we are going to make it happen. We're going to make it work. And he did go for it. He said, okay, we will. I trust you. I know you'll do it. So the next day that clock started ticking, and Matt and I got together and we're like, hey, this has to work. We're going to make this work. There's no other option. So I realized at that point, I needed to learn engineering. Matt was going to be the software engineer, and he was going to drive everything software. I was going to learn circuit board design, RF design, firmware design, mechanical design, like no more trusting or relying on others. I was going to learn it. I could do it myself. That said, even with Google, because I grew up with Google, which is great, and YouTube, no ChatGPT yet, but had YouTube. I was starting to look for things, but really there was no great resources for RF design, for radio design or wireless design, and that was such a critical part to this product. So I reached out and found some names of a few guys. There's a few key guys in Silicon Valley that really were the drivers of the wireless side of products, specifically in like Apple and Samsung phones and products. So I found their numbers and started calling them. And they were gracious enough to not answer. They didn't answer the first time I called them, or the second, or the 30th time. And I kept calling them over and over again, leaving voicemails. And finally one of them answered. His name was Tom. And he answered, and I believe he was answering to tell me to please stop calling him. But before he could, I said, listen, I want to learn from you. Please let me just come out. I will do anything. I'll work for you. You tell me what to do. Just explain to me what you're doing while we do it. And you have free labor, right? I'll come do whatever you want. And he agreed to it. So I went out there in Silicon Valley, and very quickly we became good friends. He grumpy old Tom. He was definitely very grumpy, but brilliant. He's the one who designed most of Apple's antennas, a lot of Samsung's wireless radios, and learned a lot from him. And he taught me a lot of things that now, as I'm seeing other engineers come in, we're so driven by experience. And that was one of the greatest pieces, is we got got to bring so many years of experience into our products through that relationship that we had with Tom. So he never designed anything for our products, but he taught me what he was doing while he was working and designing other products. Then a few days, I think it was about a week and a half later, Matt and I had taken this on. We're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. Matt's newborn daughter went into heart failure and had to go down to Children's Hospital and be put on a list for a heart transplant. And so he said, hey, I have to go down there. Like, I have to live by the hospital until a heart becomes available. We have to be right there. Right? This is right after we agreed, like, we're going to make this push. We're going to make this happen. So it was, okay, we'll figure out how to make it happen. So for a couple days, we were working remote. We were trying to kind of work together. And I started working on our wireless protocol. And said, you know what? I'll drive down there. We'll work together for a day. We'll get everything done in a day. Like, we'll get it all done. I went down there. We did not get it done in a day. So I said, hey, well, can I sleep on your couch? Is that all right? And he's like, yeah, for sure. Sounds like, because tomorrow we'll get everything else done. And that happened for a few days and then a few weeks. And about 6 weeks later, I finally went home. So we went and worked at Matt's in this apartment that they were living in with his daughter that had these tubes and wires. And we were helping interchange, make sure that was happening. And Matt was so amazing of letting me come down there and stay with him and work with him. And we'd get the kids all set up. And then we'd come over here and code and work on the code. And it was great. And actually got a lot of very focused time. And we were able to do it. We were able to put together working prototypes that then became the core product of Next. So we were able to work on 3 products, including the software, get those launched, and we were able to do it on the timeline and the budget that we were looking for. Our goal was to be able to start selling product by mid-2015, we started putting products out into the field, and by January 2016, we are doing mass-produced at the time for us, products and putting those out into the field. But those came up over and over again, and I hope that you guys continue to hear that from others that come in here, is that you're going to hit those moments. If you want to go on the entrepreneurial journey, if you want to start a business, if you want to be a leader, you should be aware that you are going to run into those moments that at the time, it's going to feel like there's no way forward. Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work? What am I going to do? And those are key moments. Those are important moments. And I guarantee you later on, when you look back, you'll realize how key those moments were for your success. I mentioned it earlier. It's one of my favorite quotes. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back. There are so many different lessons that I've learned throughout my life that have helped in this journey. And most of those lessons were learned during those hardest times, during those rough times, and I was thinking, I don't know how on earth I'm going to make it past or make it to the next step or make it to the next moment. Those were critical or key times in learning how to move forward. So we talk about companies all the time. I know Next is talked about quite often as an overnight success. It was a 13-year overnight success. It took a little while for that overnight success to happen, and that is typically how it happens. Right? Most overnight successes that you hear about, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it beforehand. So over at Next, we have a couple core principles that we've built things around. And it is fun that now we've been able to look back and say, okay, let's make sure that those core principles are what we live by, is what we mean. When we started this, I actually had this question before this. Someone said, when you came in and started this, did you know the impact, or did you have the goal of making this impact? And the answer is no, I actually didn't. I did not know the company would be what it looks like today. And I knew where I wanted it to go. I knew where I wanted things to move towards. I knew that I wanted to make an impact. But really, having values are really what drove us to be able to have the opportunity to make great impacts and do something powerful and do something great. So some of those values that we've had since the beginning, simplicity, right? Now, simplicity is funny because when you see things that are simple, in your mind you say, well, it's simple, it must have been simple to do. But that's not how it works, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when you use something that's simple, there's an insane amount of work and thought that went into trying to make that thing simple. And so we knew that was the first thing we needed to tackle. When we're bringing something to a potential customer, it needs to be simple for them. That means it's way more work on us. There's a lot more thought that needs to go into it for us. I heard a lot of marketing guys in here, right? On the marketing side of things, you run into this quite often, where the simple thing for a market guy to do would be to spew out a full page of here's all the reasons why you need to look at our product, right? That's simple for the marketing guys, but a terrible experience for a customer, right? So if you want something simple, like on the marketing side, you do have to put in more work. It takes way more effort to try to bring that down to 1 word or 2 words or just a simple image or just a silhouette. And that's what we've tried to approach on all of it, whether it's through customer service, through our products, through our website, everything, trying to make it as simple as possible. Anytime we get the opportunity to remove a single click from the experience that a customer is doing, we invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money into being able to do that. Back before it was popular, there's the idea of dragging and dropping a file into your browser and then your website just taking care of it. Back when we started the company, that wasn't a thing. No one was doing that. Right, and we realized how cool that would be, because then someone doesn't have to say, click the upload button and then go browse to their file and then go try to bring it in. And we're just saying, okay, just dragging and dropping it. At that time, when we developed that and designed that, that took us weeks to develop that and get the browser to hand the file to us correctly and being able to take over the size of the file. It took a long time, but simplicity-wise, once customers got to feel that, and it took a little while for them to realize, like we'd say, yeah, just drag the file over and let it go. And they'd be like, okay, and then what else? No, that's it. That's it. That's all you have to do, right? It really started to take off. So the simplicity was a really big part of it. On that same side of simplicity, keeping a small amount of SKUs, right? And even the fact that a customer does not need to choose which product that they need, because all of our products, we've been able to simplify and create a singular SKU for those products. So simplicity is a big part of it. Innovation. So when we came into our industry, it was very slow, very old. There was a few companies that had a lot of success or had a lot of success, and so they popped it into neutral, right? They said, okay, time to coast. We've had some success. That's been great. Let's coast, and everything will stay good. And that's when guys like myself and my business partner are able to come in and say, well, let's show them what speed looks like. Let's show what innovation looks like. So we try to keep that in mind every day. Honestly, our first generation product is still some of the best product on the market. The next best product is our second generation product. And then the very best product is our latest generation product. Right? So we are starting to see others that are starting to push the bar, and we're kind of excited about it. But even if they aren't, it's always been critical to us that we push ourselves. So if we're not growing year over year in our own capabilities, in what we are doing, in the product lines that we have, we really don't feel like we are progressing as a company. The quality is a big one. It really does not matter how cool it is. If it doesn't work or if it breaks, nobody wants it. I just had this recently and just bought a pair of headphones, opened it up, and they didn't work. Honestly, they probably have a low failure rate, right? They probably got the luck of the draw of having one set of bad headphones. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, and I thought very poorly about that company, right? And so that quality has been a big piece for us. There's been quite a few times when we've been pressured to launch something before we should, and we really try to hold to not doing that, trying to make sure that once we release, it's going to work. It's going to work great. Our first generation of product, We made 1.4 million of those, and I believe our total failure count was 18. We had 18 of those in total that failed. So really, really focused on the quality side of things, service. Now, unfortunately, you won't always hit quality. Want to, but we even had 18, right? And we put a lot of work, a lot of effort into it. Service is the way that you bridge that gap. So especially when you're talking, not even tech companies, any company, you're going to fall short sometimes. And you fill that gap, you bridge that gap with the service side, with the support side. And that was one of the things I was not impressed with the headphones that failed. I could not get them replaced. I couldn't send them back. And so we've tried to put a lot of work into the service side, into our support group. We actually, at this point, take calls for our competitors' products. We've told our support team, if someone calls you, help them, right? Whether it's for our products or not. And our industry knows that now. So quite often our support team is taking calls for our competitors' products. And we just say, hey, that's all the better. They want to reach out to us. They want to work with us. If they think our support's great, just wait till they start using our equipment as well. And this has always been key for us. From the very beginning, we were out in front of customers, we were talking to customers, and really, they told us what the problems were, right? They taught us the problems. They didn't tell us what the solution needed to be, because that's our jobs, right? That's what we need to do. That's what as entrepreneurs do, is you figure out the right solutions, but they'll tell you the problem, and they told us the problem. So we try to stay really connected to that, even to the point that I still like taking support calls. So just recently, we sent the whole team off to go collect turkeys for the food pantry. And I said, everybody leave? I'll take the support calls for the morning. And so I took a couple hours and took support calls, and it was great. It was awesome getting to use our system again and be in the website and talk to customers. I think we even sent cards to them afterwards and saying, hey, thanks for calling in. It was great working with you guys. And I didn't tell them that I was the CEO when they called in. So it was fun, and it was fun to get to hear with customers and connect with them again. Integration's a big one for us. Integration, what we mean by this is trying to get rid of the gaps. Now, in the technology world, we talk about gaps between the different engineering groups. So these are the gaps that happen between like your firmware and your software teams, right? Because each of them take things to a certain point and then stop. And then the software guys will take it and stop. And I know you guys have experienced this before. You've experienced it with trying to get a new device to hook up to a mobile app over Bluetooth. And you can tell where the hardware guys stopped and they're like, oh, yeah, Bluetooth works. And then your mobile app guys are like, well, it didn't work in this case, but that's their job to work on it. And then you as a consumer, as a customer, are stuck with something that just doesn't work well. So it's usually not in the individual fields where things don't work. It's in those gaps between your specialties is where you see problems. And so we really try to make sure those overlap. To the point that Ryan is over here. He's on our marketing team. He is our head of marketing. And his first couple of weeks, he was on the support team. Every single person who starts at our company works on the support team for their first few weeks, so they understand what support's doing and what calls they're taking and who they're working with and who the customer is. Even our CFO, his first few weeks, he was on the support team, taking calls, talking to customers. So that integration is important. And then continuing to push ourselves, right? We usually call this shooting for the stars. This last one is saying, try to figure out what you currently don't think is possible, and let's go make it possible. We've been able to do this quite a few times. Sometimes it's gotten a little scary of whether or not we'll actually be able to do it. We're actually in the middle of this right now, working on breaking into a new market. But these values have been very helpful for us of being forward thinking and looking at where we should go as a company. And quite often we can come back and say, okay, are we applying these values correctly? If we're not, let's realign with it. Mentioned this before, I'm going to say it again. Entrepreneurship, it's fun because quite often they'll point out an entrepreneur and say, hey, there's the entrepreneur. That's great. Solo, it feels like a solo sport. It's not. And you won't be successful if you approach it as a solo sport. It is a team sport. It takes an entire group, not just your team that's working with you once you have a business, but your support group at home, those that are around you, your community. It's very important that you're engaged with all of those around you if you truly do want to experience and have success. And we try to do this with our own team. So you'll see us out there having fun, doing things. We do lunches, we do open houses. There's a polar plunge coming up for one of our water conservation efforts that we do. And we do all of these things to build that community, to build that trust, to build people wanting to talk to each other, because that's when problems get solved. Problems don't get solved by one person going home and saying, how do I do it? That's truly not how I did it. If it's coming across that that's how I did it, it's not. It comes across from having a community, having a team, having people that you can rely on and work on to have a common goal that you want to accomplish together. Okay, I'll try to go fast. I'm talking a little too long. What we've been able to do since. So Next Century, or Next Meters, is a water or a utility metering company. We do gas, water, and electric. We create wireless devices that pull all of that data from those utilities in. We run analytics on those, and we provide people with information about their own usage. We empower people to be able to save money by using less. We're doing this through showing them what their usage looks like compared to others, by showing them leaks that they have going on in their house, by showing them optimizations that they can make. And it really does let people use less water. And by doing that, we've been able to conserve a ton of water. This last year, the EPA estimated that we helped conserve 4.2 billion gallons of water in the US and Canada, which has been great. It's not something we initially ever imagined hitting those kinds of numbers, but it was really great. And that's something we've continued to be able to do year over year. A couple of years ago, we realized the opportunity. So now we're starting to conserve water, seeing great things happen over here. Our technologies continue to expand and getting smarter at how to conserve water over here where we need to conserve it. We became aware of the shortages of clean drinking water in other areas, like in Africa. And so we've dedicated our team's mind power. We've brought in a lot of other people to work with us to go and try to help these groups, specifically right now over in Africa, who don't have access to clean drinking water. We've started a foundation called WIN that helps connect technology to these mechanical wells that are out there to help push this. So being able to conserve water over here and help provide clean water for others over here has been really fun for us. Now, originally, we didn't know that was going to be a thing. We didn't know that that was where we were going to go with it. But by living by values, by working hard, by making sure that we're ready when opportunities came up, when this opportunity came up, we were able to jump in on it and be able to do some great things. So, our mission at Next, and this is the original mission from the very beginning, was to promote the conservation of utilities for the betterment of communities. And by focusing on this mission and applying our values, we've been able to experience a lot of success. Okay, I just want to make sure. Almost to questions. So my advice, we'll go quick through this. Start before you feel ready. You're never going to be ready. Just start. Start going. There's a lot of failures you need to get out of the way as quick as you can. Start doing those today. Learn faster than you fear. There's always going to be fears. There's always going to be something that's going to hold you back. Start going. Start learning. Start getting experience. Jump into it as fast as you can. Solve real problems for real people. If you listen, you're going to hear problems. The world has not had everything solved. Let's go do it. If you're going to hear problems, go solve them. Play the long game. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to sell your vision short or to sell yourself short. Make sure you're looking at where do you want to go. It's not going to be a perfect vision, but if you have some values that you hold to, those can help direct you long term. And then struggle isn't failure. It's the very, very best way to learn. Someone asked me tonight what my biggest failure was. And I asked today, because I have a lot of them all the time. Exactly, there we are. Lots and lots of them. Don't be scared of failure. Failure is important. It's critical. You need to experience failure. If you're not experiencing failure, you are not going to experience the level of success that you'd want to experience. So don't just build a company. Build something that matters. Create values. Hold to them. Don't be scared to fail. Start now. The very best time to start your company was yesterday. The next best time is today. Start doing it right now. So there's a little bit about me and about my journey. I'd like to open it up for any questions. Yes.
What did you personally study your time during the student?
Yeah, I actually did not lead with this, and I should have.
What year?
Ethically, I should have said this very first. I am a college dropout. So I was at Utah State. I was here for a year, but I am a dropout.
So you said earlier that you said that entrepreneurship doesn't always start with a great plan, but it starts after listening. And I was wondering what your advice would be to those entrepreneurs that are here that are looking for a need to fill, that are looking for something to start. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would start in things that you're close to already today. So I guarantee you that you've had a few things today that you wish were different, right? Whether it's the way your alarm clock sounded, whether it's the way that you had to wait for your shower to turn on or to get hot, whether it's something during your commute, you experience problems today, right? And nothing's holding you back from solving those problems. If you experience those problems, likely others did. And just getting yourself in that mindset that you're not trying to find that one perfect golden opportunity. Start looking for problems right now. And if you can't think of any problems that you had today, start looking a lot harder tomorrow because you're already missing them. And if you're missing those kinds of problems, you're going to probably miss the bigger problems that you may be after trying to solve. Yeah.
If you had access to AI at the time you're getting started, how would you utilize it?
What's AI? No, I'm just kidding. No, we're pretty heavy on the machine learning side of AI and starting to get deeper into the large language models. Some of the places that we'd apply it, probably on the data analysis side. That is where we've started applying a lot of the machine learning. A lot of our algorithms that we generated or started from the get-go were algorithms that we kind of picked based on the limited amount of data that we could hold in our minds at a time. And that's a lot of the power of your large language models and some of these larger machine learning models is they can take near endless amounts of data and start helping you put together ways of looking at that data and ways of learning from that data. So I would say from the get-go, if we would have had the level of AI that's available today, and it'll continue getting better, but if we had the AI that's available today, we would have used that to help us generate some of the proactive alerting that we're trying to do or proactive data analysis that we're trying to do today. Yeah. I'll walk you through a couple interview questions that we have. We have a couple interview questions that are very unique. So everyone's going to get a little bit of a heads up when you do come interview with us. One of those questions is, we love to learn at Next. We love learning. It's very important that we're always learning. We're trying to always learn. Whenever you learn something new, we then expect you to teach those around you what it is that you've learned. So I'd like to give you the opportunity right now to teach me something. Teach me something you're passionate about. Teach me something that I could, that would be good for me to learn. And that's one of our interviewing questions. And it's actually one of our most important interviewing questions because it helps teach us that somebody is able to teach, and quite often if somebody can teach, they can learn, right? And we're in an industry that moves and changes so quickly that I don't need to know what you already know. I need to make sure you know how to learn and keep up with things that are coming out in the future. So we're looking for people who love to learn, who are obsessed with learning, and then quite often looking for people who have should I say obsessive personalities? Looking super nerds, obsessive personalities. So we will ask about hobbies, and we get really excited when people have a hobby that they're really passionate about, that they apply themselves on, because quite often that means that they're passionate or apply themselves to whatever it is they're working on or whatever it is they're doing. So those are a couple of the things that we look at when we're trying to expand our team. Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, so Matt Clyde, one of the original founders with me, he came on a couple months after I started designing things in my garage. Our wives were friends and decided we should be friends. Neither of us was excited to meet the other. I'm like, I don't need a new friend. not that important. They did finally get us together. It's funny because we actually did not hit it off right from the get-go, right from our first visit. We were both like, we kind of got different interests. The next time our wives forced us to get together, we started chatting about product design. We actually talked about product design and website design, told him a little bit about what I was working on. He pulled up what he was working on, and we really clicked on that simplicity side of giving someone an experience. And that kicked off a, lifelong friendship. Matt and I are very close. I would look for someone who has similar values. It's really great that Matt and I have different skill sets that complement each other. I don't think it would be great if both of us had the exact same skill set. But most importantly, we do hold the same values, or very, very similar values. And I would give that recommendation if you're looking for a business partner, is look for someone who does have similar values to you. They don't need to be like you. They don't need to have your same personality. They don't need to have your same skills or your same talents. But it's important that you guys share values. One more? Okay, one more question.
So you spent,
maybe two more.
you spent thousands of hours, and probably much more making this product work before launching it. Do you wish you would have done something differently?
Yeah, this is a funny question, and I don't usually do the I wish I could go back and do something different. It's very important to me that I've experienced what I've experienced to today. That includes the hard times, the bad times. So I wouldn't wish that, getting fired was one of the worst things that ever happened to me. I would never wish for that to change. It's so critical in learning and where I'm at today, and I wouldn't ever want to change any of that. Now, if you asked going forward, if I were to do it again, would I want to do things differently? The answer is definitely yes. And I think that's really important, is being able to reflect on what you've done and what you've seen and what you've learned, and then applying that going forward. And it's important to say, yeah, I would have done these things differently, going forward and doing this next time. That's such a critical part of the path. I saw one more.
So you talked about how you had, people who kind of taught you how to do some of the stuff already. How do you go about saving people and figuring out how to change it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I will say most people want to help. They want to teach. They want to see you succeed. It is having experienced some success. I love seeing others have success. They do want to see that you want to put in the effort. And I will say this from a personal place. I have quite a few people that come and say, hey, I want to start this business. I have this idea. I want to do this. And I always give them a homework assignment. And it can be pretty small, right? If I had someone pitch me and say, hey, I want to design this comb that is like a Swiss Army knife. I said, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I can help you learn how to do that. Your homework assignment is just draw it, just on a piece of paper, just kind of sketch out. It doesn't need to be great. Just put something together to show me what it is you mean. And then they didn't, right? And that showed me that they really weren't ready to learn, weren't ready to put themselves into it. And it probably wouldn't have been an efficient use of my time, because I do want to see them learn. I want to see them go forward. So I will say most people are very happy to help as long as they see that you're willing to put in the effort and match the effort and time that they're wanting to invest and put into it. All right, I'll give up the mic now. Thank you, guys.